Marcus Chen had never expected his Tuesday morning jog to change his life forever. As a single father of 3, his days were filled with packed lunches, homework battles, and bedtime stories. But when the strange, silver craft crashed into the woods behind his suburban home, everything shifted. The woman who emerged from the wreckage was unlike anyone he'd ever seen. Her skin shimmered with an opalescent glow. Her eyes held the depth of distant galaxies, and despite her obvious injuries, she carried herself with unmistakable regality. When she spoke, her voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to touch his very soul. "I am Lyrale, queen of the Zephyrian Empire," she whispered as Marcus helped her to his back porch. "My enemies have found me." His children, 8-year-old Emma, 12-year-old Jake, and 6-year-old Tommy stared in wonder as their father tended to this otherworldly visitor. Where others might have called authorities or fled in terror, Marcus simply asked, "What do you need?" Over the following days, as Lyrale recovered in their guest room, an impossible bond formed. She marveled at Marcus's devotion to his children, the way he read them stories with different voices for each character, how he kissed scraped knees and celebrated small victories. Marcus, in turn, was captivated by her tales of distant worlds, her fierce intelligence, and the vulnerability she showed only to him. "In my realm, I command billions," she confided one evening as they watched the children play in the yard. "Yet I've never felt the warmth of a family like this." "You're welcome to stay as long as you want," Marcus replied, surprising himself with how much he meant it. But the galaxy had not forgotten its queen. The Void-born Collective, a ruthless alliance that had been conquering system after system, had orchestrated her exile. They knew that without Lyrale's strategic brilliance and the loyalty she commanded, the remaining free worlds would fall. The first attack came at dawn. Sleek black ships descended from the clouds, their weapons charging with ominous light. Lyrale stood in the backyard, her royal armor materializing around her like liquid starlight. But she was one against many. "Take the children inside," she commanded Marcus, her voice carrying new authority. But Marcus had spent weeks watching this extraordinary woman struggle with the weight of her responsibilities. He'd seen her cry when she thought no one was looking, mourning the worlds already lost to the collective. He understood that she was fighting not just for her empire, but for the right of all beings to live free. "Emma, Jake, Tommy, get to the basement," he told his children firmly. Then, to Lyrale's amazement, he stepped up beside her. "You're not doing this alone, Marcus. You're just human, just human." He smiled, remembering all the impossible things he'd already done as a father. "I've negotiated peace treaties between my kids and their vegetables. I've survived parent-teacher conferences. I've read Goodnight Moon 7,000 times without losing my sanity. Don't underestimate what just human can accomplish." What followed was the most unlikely alliance in galactic history. While Lyrale's loyal forces arrived to join the battle in the skies above, Marcus did what he did best. He organized. He coordinated with local authorities, helped evacuate civilians, and somehow managed to turn his quiet suburban neighborhood into a strategic command center. But it was his children who provided the key to victory. Jake's knowledge of video game tactics helped identify weaknesses in the collective's formations. Emma's artistic eye spotted camouflaged enemy positions. And little Tommy's innocent question, "Why don't the bad guys just want to be friends?" sparked the psychological warfare strategy that ultimately turned captured collective soldiers into allies. The final battle raged for 3 days. Marcus barely left Lyrale's side, anticipating her needs, offering strategic insights born from years of multitasking as a parent, and providing the emotional anchors she'd never known she needed. When the last collective ship retreated, when the surrendering fleets transmitted their formal submissions, Lyrale stood victorious but exhausted. The galaxy was free, her empire restored. But now she faced an impossible choice. "I have to return," she said, her voice breaking. "My people need me." "I know," Marcus replied, though the words tore at his heart. "Come with me," she said suddenly. "All of you. I can give you worlds, Marcus. I can give your children educations beyond imagination, adventures among the stars." Marcus looked at his house, at the children's drawings on the refrigerator, at the life they'd built together. Then he looked at this remarkable woman who had become so much more than a queen to him. "Will you stay?" he asked instead. For a moment, the fate of galaxies hung in the balance. Then Lyrale smiled, not the controlled expression of a queen, but the radiant joy of a woman in love. "I've spent my life ruling the stars," she said, taking his hand. "But you've shown me something more precious, a home." The wedding was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in Marcus's backyard, where Tommy had once built sandcastles and Emma had painted masterpieces on the fence. The ceremony blended human traditions with Zephyrian customs, and when they exchanged vows, the aurora that appeared in the sky was visible from 3 solar systems. Emma served as maid of honor, Jake as best man, and Tommy as ring bearer, proudly carrying bands forged from metals that existed in only 7 places in the universe. When Marcus and Lyrale kissed, sealing their union, the cheers echoed across dimensions. They ruled together, she as Empress of the Zephyrian Coalition, he as the man who had taught a queen what it meant to truly come home. Their children grew up as princes and princess of 2 worlds, fluent in both English and the song language of Zephyria, equally comfortable at state dinners and little league games, and sometimes, on quiet evenings when the children were asleep and the affairs of the galaxy could wait, Marcus and Lyrale would sit on their back porch, the same porch where he'd first tended her wounds, and watch the stars. She would point out the worlds they protected, and he would tell her about the constellations his grandmother had taught him as a boy. In the end, Marcus had won more than a queen's heart. He had won a love that spanned galaxies, proved that the greatest victories aren't won with weapons but with compassion, and shown that sometimes the most extraordinary destinies begin with the simplest choice: to help someone in need. Their love story became legend, told on worlds across the galaxy, whispered in the crystal spires of Andromeda's capitals, sung in the deep space mining colonies of the Outer Rim, and carved into the memory stones of ancient civilizations who had long forgotten what it meant to love without condition. It was the tale of a simple human father who conquered the heart of an alien queen, not through force or grand gestures, but through the everyday magic of kindness, family, and a love that transcended the stars themselves. The bards would speak of how he never once bowed before her throne, yet somehow made her feel more royal than any crown ever could. They told of how his callous hands, weathered from years of honest work, could gentle the fiercest storms in her warrior's heart with nothing more than a touch. The storytellers across 1,000 worlds marveled at how this ordinary man saw past her fearsome reputation, her scales that could turn diamond to dust, her eyes that had witnessed the fall of empires. Instead, he saw the loneliness she carried like armor, the weight of command that bent her shoulders, the secret dreams she harbored of a life beyond conquest and duty. He offered her something no victory had ever brought, the simple joy of belonging to someone who loved her not for her power, but for the gentle soul she revealed only in the quiet moments between heartbeats. Their children became symbols of hope throughout the galaxy, living proof that love could bridge any divide, that two beings from worlds apart could create something beautiful together. The legend grew with each telling, but at its heart remained the most profound truth of all, that sometimes the greatest conquests are won not with weapons, but with the courage to open one's heart to the impossible.